Imagine an endless ocean of burning sand, where the unforgiving sun shows absolutely no mercy. For thousands of years, wandering into this desolate wasteland meant facing a certain agonizing death. But deep within the heart of this scorching desert hell, a true miracle suddenly flowed. The River Nile. To the ancient people, this wasn't just water, it was a god. It was the ultimate giver of breath, turning barren dust into a cradle of life. Every single year, like perfect clockwork, the great river would miraculously rise and flood. When the dark waters finally pulled back, they left behind a gift, nutrient-rich mud. From this muddy shoreline, humanity learned the sacred art of sowing life-giving seeds. This incredibly simple act of farming changed the entire course of human history forever. Abundant harvests meant a massive food surplus, and that precious surplus finally meant time. Time to stop merely surviving day by day, and finally start creating true civilization. Scattered farming villages slowly fused into powerful, highly organized cities along the riverbank. With a growing society, the human mind awakened to entirely new intellectual heights. They gave voices to silent stones, inventing the sacred, immortal writing called hieroglyphs. They looked up from the dirt and began to carefully measure the stars above. Mastering astronomy birthed the calendar, predicting the life-giving floods with absolute, perfect precision. Now masters of earth, water, and sky, their ambitions grew to massive scales. They sought to conquer the one thing no human ever had before, eternity itself. And so, from the mud of the river, rose impossible mountains of solid stone. This is the epic story of an empire born entirely from a single drop. But these colossal pyramids were not merely grand monuments, they were machines of resurrection. To conquer death and reach eternal paradise, the physical body had to endure forever. This profound obsession birthed the sacred dark art of embalming and mummification. Priests wearing the terrifying mask of Anubis, the jackal god, oversaw the gruesome ritual. Carefully, they removed the internal organs, draining the body of all its moisture. The stomach, liver, and lungs were sealed within beautiful sculpted canopic jars. Then, the dried, hollow shell was meticulously wrapped in hundreds of yards of fine linen. Hidden within these tight bindings were golden amulets, designed to protect the traveling soul. Beside the dead, they placed the ultimate survival guide, the Book of the Dead.
It was a magical map, filled with secret spells to navigate the terrifying underworld.
The deceased soul had to face terrifying monsters, lakes of fire, and absolute darkness.
Surviving the brutal journey, they arrived at the ultimate test, the Hall of Two Truths. Here, the god Anubis would weigh their heart against the sacred feather of truth. A heavy heart, weighed down by dark sins, was instantly devoured by a demon. While the dead sought a peaceful paradise, the living pharaohs built heaven on earth. But a pure, light heart was granted eternal life in the golden field of reeds. Some visionary rulers defied all traditions, like Hatshepsut, the woman who became a king. She focused not on devastating bloody wars, but on monumental architecture and incredible wealth. Her massive fleets sailed the seas, bringing back exotic treasures from forgotten distant lands.
Her peaceful reign proved that a golden age could be forged without raising swords. But peace could not last forever in a world surrounded by fierce, hungry empires. Egypt needed a warrior king. Enter Ramses II, the greatest pharaoh of them all. He transformed the wealthy nation into an unstoppable, terrifying military superpower of the ancient world. His ultimate weapon was the Egyptian war chariot, a marvel of lightweight, deadly engineering. But it was a brilliant trap. The Hittites ambushed the Egyptians with devastating speed. Ramses fiercely led his massive army north to face the rival Hittite empire at Kadesh. Surrounded and outnumbered, Ramses refused to surrender. He charged directly into the enemy lines. It quickly became the largest chariot battle ever fought in the brutal history of mankind. Neither side could claim true victory, leading to the world's very first recorded peace treaty. To cement his legend forever, Ramses carved his glorious, exaggerated victories into eternal mountains of stone.
But grand monuments like the pyramids had one fatal flaw. They were giant beacons for thieves. For centuries, ruthless grave robbers plundered the sacred gold, disturbing the eternal rest of kings.
To protect their afterlife, the New Kingdom pharaohs made a drastic, brilliant change in strategy. They abandoned the giant pyramids and looked to the hidden, rugged canyons of the desert. Deep underground, they carved massive, secret labyrinths directly into the solid, unforgiving rock. In pitch darkness, master artists painted vibrant, magical spells to safely guide the king's home. Once the royal mummy was placed inside, the entrance was completely buried under tons of rubble. Almost every single tomb was eventually found and stripped bare, except for one, a minor boy king, whose hidden resting place would one day shock the modern world. For over 3,000 years, the forgotten boy king slept completely undisturbed beneath the shifting sands. Until 1922, when a stubbornly determined British archaeologist named Howard Carter refused to give up. After years of fruitless searching in the blistering heat, his workers finally struck a hidden stone step. Carter carefully chipped a tiny hole through the ancient sealed doorway and peered nervously inside. When asked if he could see anything, he famously whispered, "Yes, wonderful things." Inside lay a breathtaking trove of unimaginable wealth, perfectly preserved in the suffocating darkness. At the center of it all rested the legendary, flawless solid gold death mask of Tutankhamun. But breaking the sacred seal of the tomb also unleashed a terrifying, dark legend upon the world. A whispered rumor known to all as the deadly, inescapable curse of the Pharaohs. When Lord Carnarvon, the man who funded the dig, died suddenly months later, the newspapers exploded with wild tales of a vengeful mummy striking from beyond the grave. Every minor accident or tragic illness connected to the team was blamed on the curse. In reality, the curse was likely ancient toxic mold and deadly bacteria trapped for millennia. But the myth survived, cementing Egypt's powerful grip on our modern imagination forever. While Tutankhamun slept, his once invincible empire slowly began to crumble under foreign invasions. Assyrians, Persians, and eventually the Greeks under Alexander the Great all claimed the Nile. A new dynasty arose, blending Greek minds with ancient Egyptian traditions to survive. The final, desperate chapter belonged to a brilliant, ruthless queen you already know. Cleopatra, the very last pharaoh to rule before the mighty Roman Empire swallowed Egypt whole. When the mighty Roman legions arrived, the ancient world's longest surviving empire finally collapsed in blood. Legend says the last pharaoh, Cleopatra, chose the venomous bite of a snake over Roman chains. Egypt was entirely stripped of its glorious kings, reduced to a mere grain-producing province for Rome. The grand temples were abandoned, and the relentless desert sands slowly reclaimed the silent cities. The sacred knowledge of the hieroglyphs was completely forgotten, becoming a dead, unreadable language. For over 1,000 years, the powerful voices of the ancient pharaohs were completely silenced. Until the year 1799, when French soldiers digging a fort stumbled upon a miracle. The Rosetta Stone, a single broken slab containing the exact same message in 3 different languages. It was the ultimate translation key, allowing brilliant scholars to finally crack the impossible ancient code.
Suddenly, after millennia of total silence, the ancients could finally speak to us once more.
But their true legacy isn't just hidden in tombs, it surrounds us in our daily lives. The very calendar we use today, with 365 days, was born right here. They gave us the invention of papyrus paper, paving the way for all modern written history. Their early, groundbreaking experiments in anatomy and surgery laid the foundations of modern medical science. And their absolute mastery of geometry continues to influence the world's greatest modern architectural wonders. The ancient Egyptians looked at a harsh, unforgiving desert and simply decided to build an eternity. Thousands of years have passed. Countless empires have risen and fallen, fading into the dark dust. Yet, the majestic Nile still flows, feeding the children of the sun just as it always has. An old Arab proverb says, "Man fears time, but time itself fears the Great Pyramids." This is the immortal legacy of ancient Egypt, a civilization that truly conquered death itself.